Hi, everybody. This is Maverine, and you are watching Prophetic News Hour 1. Today on the Gregorian calendar is May 16th, 2025, and on the biblical calendar, we are in the second month, 18th day, 5786. I am going to share with you today um, just what the Father's been putting on my heart in this time that I've not recorded for this channel. And the word that I am hearing repeatedly, the words I'm hearing repeatedly, just as we watched things unfold during the last 10 days or so, is Trojan horse. Trojan horse. Now, most of us have heard the story or read the stories about the mythology of the Trojan War and the Trojan horse. It's recounted in the Iliad, it's recounted in the Odyssey. It's recounted, but what I've learned is that few of those details, few of that story is actually confirmed and corroborated to be historical fact. So, in hearing Trojan horse, as I've been considering what news to share and how to share from a biblical perspective, I am led to share a little bit about how the White House, the United States White House, the official White House website, reports out from the deals that President Donald Trump is making and has been making with Middle Eastern nations. And then I believe you'll understand why Trojan horse is an appropriate label. I'm going to read from this site, and it's the whitehouse.gov fact sheet. So again, I'm reading the facts from the whitehouse.gov website. And this was as of May 13th, 2025. It reports that today in Saudi Arabia, so May 13th in Saudi Arabia, President Donald Trump announced Saudi Arabia's $600 billion commitment to invest in the United States, building economic ties that will endure for generations to come. I will put the link to this website in the description so that you may, again, copy and paste it into your browser and read the totality of what's reported for yourselves. But I'm going to share just a few highlights. And I want you not to forget, as it is said here by the White House themselves, the intent is for these economic ties between the United States and Saudi Arabia. And I will add Qatar or Qatar, the United Arab Emirates. Even now, we're hearing about Syria. The intent is for these economic ties to endure for generations to come. Here's just an example, a few examples. The deals celebrated today, and again, this was May 13th, are historic and transformative for both countries, Saudi Arabia and the United States, and represent a new golden era of partnership between the United States and Saudi Arabia. My question is, why would the United States of America, who is now in an existential battle for our Judeo-Christian values and freedom, tout partnering with Saudi Arabia, a nation that is an Islamic nation that persecutes its women, persecutes its people, and can exact revenge under their form of Sharia on their people without qualm. Second, this website touts again from whitehouse.gov. From day one, President Trump's America First trade and investment policy has put the American economy, the American worker, and our national security first. Now, from my marketplace days, I will tell you that the ignorance and or naivety in that statement jumps off of the computer screen, because inviting in a nation who not that long ago, if we remember, and I hope we never forget, the attacks against the United States on September 11th, 2001, a nation responsible for funding the terrorists who attacked our nation in 2001 on 9/11, now having unfettered access. They no longer need to work through proxies. They no longer need to work through shell organizations. They no longer need to work through mannequins who present themselves as other than working on behalf of Saudi Arabia, but they will have unfettered access. And unfettered access to what, might you say? Here are just some of the examples, and these things represent critical infrastructure. Things that, as we think about earlier reports on this channel, our being in a war, are critically important that we understand. It says Saudi Arabia Data Vault is moving forward with plans to invest $20 billion in artificial intelligence data centers and energy infrastructure in the United States. Artificial intelligence is not our friend. Artificial intelligence seeks to replace humanity. And energy infrastructure, when a large portion of what we are concerned about are attacks on our energy grid by despot nations and terrorists. Google, DataVault, Oracle, Salesforce, AMD, and Uber are committing to invest $80 billion in cutting edge, transformative technologies in both countries. So, in that, things that are developed here, things that are identified here in the United States, will now again be easily accessible by those in Saudi Arabia. So it'll be much easier to have those things shared and passed back and forth without there needing to be the specter or concern about any issues of espionage, because those things can and will have impact on our security. And as well, considering the fact that most of these, Google, DataVault, Oracle, Salesforce, AMD, all of them are data collecting repositories and businesses, collecting the data and information, the most sensitive of every American citizen. And so to have those things now be, again, controlled by and easily accessible, lest we forget, seems to make no sense. The report is that iconic American companies, including Hill International, Jacobs, Parsons, and ACOM, are building key infrastructure projects in Saudi Arabia. It includes an international airport and park. It includes something called the Vault. It includes an entire city, and it will total more than $2 billion in U.S. services exports. What this fails to report and expose is that this is not truly creating many jobs for the American manufacturing populace. And having engaged with these nations to a certain extent, we can be rest assured that there will be limitations put on those who identify as Christian and Jew. Additionally, major exports from America by GE Vernova's gas turbines and energy solutions totaling $14.2 billion, and Boeing 737-8 passenger aircrafts will be exported to Saudi Arabia for $4.8 billion. So again, all of these things are accelerating Saudi Arabia's and therefore all of their partner nations and states, accelerating their technology, their aviation, their access, whereby in part they have been restrained from their planned attacks and infiltration because they've not had such easy and unfettered access. So, again, as was one of the earlier reports on this channel, my question to President Donald Trump: has fight, fight, fight been replaced with deal, deal, deal? And how are these things truly better for the average American citizen? What stands out to me as President Trump has been on this tour, again, are the optics. And the optics appear that President Trump is easily swayed by the idea of a big deal or doing things first, being able to tout his ability to negotiate, and a level of ignorance regarding the culture of Islam, the culture that will say, yes, we'll smile in your face and be your friend until such time that we have access and control over you and can subjugate and therefore, if necessary, eradicate you for not bowing to our God. I ask President Trump to consider the importance of our defense and security partnerships and to consider this outside of the realm, the limited view of what is a big business deal for stockholders. Because these things truly are not going to positively impact the mom and dad who are working for $20 an hour in small town America and their access to good, healthy, whole foods, their ability to raise their children in safety and not have the propaganda of Islam fed, spoon fed, and forced fed to them. These things, President Trump, have much more to do with the upper echelon of business and big deal and shareholders and the optics of your being able to make great deals than they do what is right and what is truly best for the American citizenry. Because as Saudi Arabia and UAE and Syria, as they gain access, as they begin to be positioned as favored nations, favored trade partners, we have evidence throughout this nation and throughout history for what the ultimate intent is. And that ultimate intent does not change by virtue of a business deal. It only allows them to make more money in the process and to consider us and our leaders as jokes along the way. This gains them more access in a nation where they've already been investing heavily in education and healthcare and infrastructure. My goodness, even in hotels and lodging, the very basics, so as to slowly take over. President Trump, are you hearing wise counsel? Are you recognizing what it is that you're doing now will not bode well for generations of Americans to come? It will not even bode well for generations of others in Europe and Africa and these Middle Eastern nations for generations to come. Because Islam, whether it's Shia or Sunni, are not peaceful religions. They are not peaceful beliefs. And you're giving them more access than what they already have here in this nation. You're saying about the new leader of Syria that he's a handsome man, when what peers from the back of his eyes is death and darkness, speaks to a level of unawareness that is hard to explain. And so, where we are now in this place as American citizens, and we have been divided, Republican versus Democrat versus Independent versus Green. We have been divided, liberal, conservative, libertarian, and everything in between. I'm saying to each one of you, each one of us, whose desire is not to have America taken over by Islam and become a nation of Sharia, it is time to stand up. It is time to say no, enough is enough. It is time to declare and say that these deals of greed, bowing to the Babylonian system, bowing to the system of greed, cannot stand and will not stand. It is time to say that we've had enough and we will not stand for this. But will we say that? Will we take that stand? Or will we continue infighting so that the enemy divides us? There will be a remnant standing. There will be people who will not bow to this. And there can be many more if you're willing to step into the righteous fight. That's all I have to report today. Again, thank you for your patience, even as I have not recorded for days, wanting to find my voice and to know that I am completing the assignment that I've been given well. The assignment to report news from a biblical perspective so that we have things to consider, to ask tough questions of ourselves and our leaders, and therefore make decisions. Because there's still time. Yes, things will and must intensify. But how that affects each family, each person, is up to how each family and each person respond. And so there is still time. I ask you today to read this with eyes of someone who understands and wants to understand even more the history of Islamic takeovers in the world, the history of the Ottoman Empire. And then ask yourself how this is better for the average citizen in the United States and for generations to come. Thank you for listening. I ask that you share this with others. As we are stepping forward in this, we will begin to share even more detail. But again, I desire to share what is reported from the horse's mouth. And these things come from whitehouse.gov. They are certainly couched from a place of all being positive for generations to come of Americans. And again, there is more. We'll talk soon, Lord willing, and I thank you for listening. If you like this, please give a thumbs up. Please share this with others, because again, until we have 100 followers, I'm unable to put the direct links for the websites and the information I share. I'd like to do that, and I'd like people to start to hear what truth-based reporting sounds like. Things that challenge our beliefs, challenge our paradigms, and help us move forward. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to the next report.